The cherry mine disaster stands as a somber testament to the perils of industrialization and the human cost of progress. This tragic event, which unfolded on November 13, 1909 in Cherry, Illinois, not only claimed the lives of hundreds of workers but also exposed the harsh working conditions prevalent in the early 20th century. Join us as we delve into the haunting history of the cherry mine disaster, a tragic chapter in the American industrialization that claimed the lives of hundreds in pursuit of profit. The cherry mine. Cherry, Illinois was home to the St. Paul Coal Company's cherry mine, a sprawling coal operation that employed a substantial workforce. The mine, like many others during that era, operated in an environment where profit took precedence over the well-being of its workers. The pursuit of coal extraction, a critical component of the nation's energy needs, often led to the neglect of essential safety measures. The workforce. The labor force at the cherry mine predominantly consisted of recent immigrants. Drawn by the promise of employment and a chance for a better life in the United States, these workers, largely from European countries, faced challenging circumstances, including low wages and hazardous working conditions. Many were not proficient in English, rendering them vulnerable to exploitation and ignorant of their rights. The disaster unfolds. On that fateful November day, an inferno erupted in the cherry mine, likely sparked by a malfunctioning oil lamp. The fire quickly escalated, spreading through the intricate network of tunnels and shafts, trapping miners deep underground. Escape routes were cut off, and the toxic fumes from the burning coal intensified the perilous situation. Before we uncover more about the cherry mine disaster, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's continue our exploration. Rescue efforts. News of the disaster spread quickly, prompting a spontaneous and desperate effort to rescue those trapped in the mine. Locals, mine officials, and neighboring miners rushed to the scene, but their efforts were impeded by the lack of proper safety equipment and inadequate ventilation. The absence of effective firefighting mechanisms further complicated the rescue operation, placing the lives of the rescuers in jeopardy. Inadequate safety measures. The cherry mine disaster underscored the appalling lack of safety measures and protocols in place at the time. Ventilation systems were insufficient, emergency exits were lacking, and firefighting equipment was woefully inadequate. Mine owners prioritized profit margins over the welfare of their workers, neglecting essential safety measures that could have averted the catastrophe. The human toll. The toll of the disaster was devastating, with 259 miners losing their lives. Among the victims were many young boys, some as young as 11, who were employed in clear violation of child labor laws. The tragedy exposed the harsh reality of the mining industry, where the exploitation of vulnerable workers coupled with the lax regulations resulted in a catastrophic loss of life. Impact on families and community. The aftermath of the cherry mine disaster left a lasting scar on the affected families and the entire community of Cherry. With many breadwinners lost, families faced economic distress and emotional turmoil. The tight-knit mining community, already grappling with poverty, experienced a profound sense of grief and loss. Public outcry and reform. The cherry mine disaster prompted a groundswell of public outcry and demands for reform. The tragedy served as a catalyst for change, drawing attention to the exploitive practices of mine owners and galvanizing support for improved working conditions. Labor unions, activists, and concerned citizens rallied for legal reforms to prevent similar disasters in the future. Legal reforms. In response to the cherry mine disaster and the wider demand for change, lawmakers took action to address the inadequacies in existing labor laws. The disaster played a pivotal role in the passage of the Illinois Child Labor Law of 1911, which aimed to regulate the employment of children in hazardous industries, including mining. Additionally, the tragedy contributed to a broader push for enhanced safety standards in mines nationwide. Legacy of the cherry mine disaster. The legacy of the cherry mine disaster extends beyond the immediate changes in legislation. The tragedy became a symbol of the urgent need for workplace safety reforms, prompting a reevaluation of industrial practices. The event laid the groundwork for a broader awareness of workers' rights and the moral imperative of prioritizing human lives over corporate profits. Memorials and commemorations. In the years following the disaster, various memorials and commemorations have been established to honor the victims of the Cherry Mine disaster. These memorials stand as solemn reminders of the human cost of industrial progress and the ongoing importance of workplace safety. They also pay tribute to the resilience of the community and the collective efforts made to prevent similar disasters in the future. Impact on mental health. The Cherry Mine disaster not only left a physical toll, but also took a significant toll on the mental health of the survivors, rescuers, and the broader community. Witnessing the horrors of the disaster, attempting to rescue trapped colleagues and loved ones, and dealing with the aftermath contributed to lasting trauma. The mental health impact underscores the need for comprehensive support systems and counseling services for those affected by industrial disasters. Community solidarity. The disaster also brought about a remarkable display of community solidarity. In the face of tragedy, the residents of Cherry, as well as neighboring communities, rallied together to provide support for the affected families. Relief efforts, including fundraising campaigns, food and clothing drives, and emotional support networks. The disaster highlighted the resilience of communities in times of crisis, and it reinforced the importance of unity in overwhelming adversity. Media coverage and public awareness. The Cherry Mine disaster garnered extensive media coverage, capturing the attention of the nation. Newspapers, magazines, and other media outlets reported on the tragedy, shedding light on the appalling conditions in which miners worked and the need for urgent reforms. The widespread dissemination of information played a crucial role in mobilizing public opinion, galvanizing support for legislative changes, and fostering a collective sense of responsibility for workers' well-being. The technological advances in mining safety. In the aftermath of the Cherry Mine disaster, technological innovations in mining safety gained momentum. Engineers and inventors began developing new tools and technologies aimed at preventing similar incidents. Improved ventilation systems, better firefighting equipment, and advanced communication devices were among the innovations that emerged, marking a shift towards a safer working environment in the mining industry. Long-term economic impact. The economic ramifications of the disaster extended beyond the immediate aftermath. The closure of the Cherry Mine, coupled with the negative publicity surrounding the tragedy, had long-term economic consequences for the region. The incident prompted a reevaluation of the economic model that prioritized profit at the expense of worker safety. The region had to adapt to new industries and economic activities, emphasizing the importance of sustainable and ethically responsible business practices. Worker empowerment and unionization. The Cherry Mine disaster played a crucial role in empowering workers and catalyzing the growth of labor unions. The tragedy became a rallying cry for workers demanding better working conditions, fair wages, and improved safety measures. The formation and strengthening of labor unions became a key mechanism for workers to negotiate collectively with employers, ensuring that their rights and safety were no longer neglected. International influence. The Cherry Mine disaster had implications beyond the borders of the United States. The tragedy drew international attention, sparking discussions about workers' rights and safety on a global scale. It became a case study in industrial disasters, influencing discussions at international forums and inspiring efforts to establish global standards for workplace safety. The lessons learned from Cherry reached far beyond the small mining town, shaping conversations about the social responsibility of industries worldwide. Educational reforms. In the aftermath of the disaster, there was a renewed emphasis on education and awareness regarding workers' rights and safety. Schools and educational institutions incorporated the Cherry Mine disaster into their curriculum, ensuring that future generations would learn about the consequences of neglecting workplace safety. This educational focus contributed to a more informed and vigilant citizenry, fostering a culture that prioritized the well-being of workers across various industries. The lessons learned from Cherry continued to shape conversations about workplace safety, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing human lives over profit margins and fostering a collective responsibility for the well-being of workers worldwide. If you found this exploration of the Cherry Mine disaster informative, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more compelling historical narratives.